All right, here we are. We're live again. This is Tim Rosanelli, and I'm here with Justin Olivieri, my producer. And, Justin, we should kind of get some kind of a tagline, for our podcast, like Maximum Impact Podcast.
Dangerously cheesy.
Yeah, we got to be really cheesy about it.
It's already Cheetah's tagline, so we can't steal that. Dang it.
All right. Well, let's get started. So, this weekend, me and my instructors, including Justin, we went out trap shooting, and it was a lot of fun. It was the first time I ever trap shooted. So I've shot before. I've done hunting with a shotgun, but I've never actually done trap, and it was something brand new for me. First off I believe we did trap, right? Because there's a difference between trap and skeet and shooting, and I know that when I use them, those terms I just use them kind of interchangeably.
Yeah.
So what's the difference?
All right. So it's skeet shooting goes left to right, and then trap goes straight forward. Now most people just call everything skeet.
Mm-hmm.
The technical terms are like trap and skeet, but
Yeah.
we just you want to go skeet shooting, and like even on YouTube you watch the guys that are like gun guys. Like, I was skeet shooting with my 22 and this, that, and the other thing.
Okay, yeah. I never used the word trap. I always used the word skeet.
Yeah.
And I know my family when I was younger, they used to have like tournaments, and they must have been doing trap, but we'd still call it skeet.
Yeah.
So I guess that's very common.
I think it's because skeet is like Olympic. So skeet's a little more popular, like in like the mainstream, there's
The
Olympic
terminology.
skeet shooting. There's not Olympic trap shooting because everybody just called it skeet then, I guess. Clay pigeon shooting to most people is just skeet shooting.
Yeah. Okay, so I won't have anybody correcting me if I do say skeet, I guess.
I mean,
Because
you
it's
might,
so
but it doesn't really matter. They know what you're talking about.
If you're a purist, I guess you'd be correcting me.
Yeah.
But about the trap shooting it's really interesting because it's the first time that I've done it. And I learned a lot just doing it one time, and it's really interesting how when you're doing a new skill, you do the shooting, and then at the end, I always go and I have my good old journal, and I always write down the things that I feel like I need to improve on. So there was a few things I felt like I needed to improve on, like I wasn't ejecting the cartridge quick enough.
Mm-hmm. You weren't racking the slide.
Yeah, I wasn't
pumping it.
Yeah, pumping it quick enough. So
you use a pump shotgun.
Yeah, because I do have a pump shotgun. Yeah, we all had different types, and unfortunately, I didn't have the semi-automatic one.
Yeah,
so
we had semi-automatics there. We had lever-action shotguns. We had pump shotguns.
A cheesy Chinese shotgun.
Yeah, that was the lever action. It's a remodel of an old cowboy gun that never really took off because pump shotguns works a little better. But
I think I was more accurate with that one.
It's shorter. It's easier to bring up.
Yeah,
and it has a good feel to it.
Yeah, and so some of the things I really learned though was like just ejecting quicker, making sure when I would go for a second shot, sometimes I wouldn't keep it against my shoulder, so that would mean that I have to re-sight it, which meant my second shot was never good as my first shot. So we're definitely gonna have to do that some more over the summer because I just feel like it's gonna help my hunting a lot.
Next time we'll have to do I have a double barrel, and that's what they use in competitions and stuff like that. They'll use a double barrel for Olympic skeet shooting anyway. They do over under. I have a side by side, but have you ever seen those guys, the skeet shooters?
I
the
haven't
Olympic
really,
skeet shooting.
Yeah, I haven't really watched it.
I should have shown you some videos, but so it's like they'll shoot one, and sometimes it'll come both from right or both from left, or it'll go left and right. And they have like it's boom boom. That's all the time they have.
Yeah.
They shoot one after another just like that, but one's coming the other way, then the other one, and then or they'll both come from the same way. They never know which way it's coming, but they're really fast.
Yeah. And the whole my whole goal of the practice is obviously because that I'm big into hunting and I want to get my shots more accurate and everything. So, but that it was a cool experience, and I'm sure we're going to do it again. Now, the other thing I wanted to ask you, I have a question for you because this is just something that comes up all the time. When people find out you're a martial arts instructor Okay. What do they say to you? Because I'll let you go first because I got mine. I know what people always do every time they find out I'm a martial arts school owner, or martial artist instructor.
Yeah.
How about you?
I mean, it depends on the person. Most of the time it's like, oh, where at? Or you'll have like the older person, that's done martial arts before. They're like, oh, you're old enough to teach karate and this, that, and the other thing. I was like, I'm 25. Is that not old enough? Like,
well, I guess I'm old, so people don't ask my age.
Yeah.
Or question my age for it. But the most interesting thing is every time somebody finds out that I'm a martial arts school owner, they have to tell me like every fight that they've been in. And it's kind of interesting because it's not just every fight, but like they always present it to me as if they were defending themselves.
Every close encounter.
Yeah, yeah. And some of them just sound like simple assaults. Like, like one guy I was talking to, he was like, yeah, I had a guy look at my girl the wrong way in the bar, and while he was sitting there at the bar, I punched him, and he considered that kind of self-defense. And if you ever looked at the definition of what self-defense is, I don't think that really qualifies.
No.
So let's talk about what the difference between a self-defense situation is and a fight. It's very easy to see the difference. If you ever saw the movie How I Met Your Mother, or the TV show How I Met Your Mother, they have a slap bet that they do in it. And it's kind of funny because the slap bet was if he got to pick whether he wanted 10 slaps now or 5 slaps in the future at any time. What would you pick?
Probably the 10 slaps right then.
I would definitely pick the 10 slaps now. That's like a regular fight.
They'll probably slap me at my wedding or something.
Yeah, or something. Yeah. But can you imagine like how nervous you would be? You'd never know when it was coming. That's like, it would probably drive you crazy.
Yeah.
So I would take the 10 slaps now. But that is what a fight is. A fight is when you know the time, you know it's happening, and you're facing off against each other at the same time.
So like a boxing match or like a UFC fight, or
Exactly.
even if it's just like, meet me at 5:00 at the playground.
Yeah. There's, or if you're at a bar and you step outside with somebody to, defend yourself, which is not really defending yourself. It's really just a fight. Yeah. And they call that a symmetric situation. In other words, both guys know the rules of engagement, or sort of know the rules of engagement, and they face off to each other.
Yeah.
Now, a self-defense situation is like the 5 slaps at any time in the future. In other words, you don't know when it's going to happen. And there's a total different preparation in life in order to train for those kind of situations, which they call asymmetric, which means that you don't know when it's going to happen or how it's going to happen, but you still have to be ready for it. But the person that's attacking you is already ready for it.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between a self-defense situation and a fight. So, in karate class, and I was thinking about this, is that we should go over this a lot more too, is that's where scenario-based training comes in, like our fast defense, where we create situations for people where they're really not sure what's going on, and then they have to work themselves through it and use it for a self-defense situation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what happens when people find out that I'm a martial arts school owner and instructor. Is they basically tell me every fight they've ever been in.
What's the craziest story you've ever heard?
I think the one where the guy was like, because he was just saying, I told that effing guy, and then I, punched him while I was sitting. That was probably one of the craziest, but I mean, I've heard a lot of stories, and I'll tell you, some people will sit there and they'll tell me every single fight they've ever been in, and most of them don't sound like self-defense situations. I mean, one person was telling me how they like drove their car to somebody's house for, I forget why, and then got into this fight with the person. And I was thinking to myself, that is really not, that's just a fight, not an actual self-defense situation.
Yeah, that's when you drive to somebody's house, that's instigating. Like, it's your fault that you guys are fighting.
Yeah, it's almost like
it's self-defense on their part almost.
Yeah, that's the funny part is sometimes these people tell me these things like they were defending themselves, but really when you look at it, it was the other person that was in the self-defense situation, which is an interesting way of looking at how certain people's mindset is about these kind of things.
Yeah. What's the craziest actual self-defense story that you've had?
Well, I've had a few. I think the craziest one was when I was at college, and I was walking home one day, and I saw this guy. He was just running up the road, like down the sidewalk, like he was acting really crazy, running down the sidewalk, and his buddy was across the street, and he just basically, I didn't know what was going on, and he just walked up to me and basically tried to clothesline me. And luckily, at that time I had been training a lot in karate, and he basically hit me in the face, and luckily he didn't knock me out. I think he was trying to knock me out, and then his friend was going to run over, and I think they were going to rob me.
Oh, okay.
But he hit me and nothing happened because I was training a lot at that point.
You're used to getting hit at that point.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the reason why. And then basically I just turned around and said, "Oh, you want some?" basically. And the guy just went running down the street as his friend that was across the street made fun of how wimpy he was the whole time. But that was probably the craziest situation because it was just a random guy running up the street and he just hit me. And everything. So that was probably one of the craziest situations. How about you? Anything you have?
Well, before I get to my self-defense story, that reminds me of a story. My dad used to work for a township, so he's a bunch of tough, guys and whatnot. And so he had a friend named Tuffy, and his everybody called him Tuffy. His bosses called him Tuffy. His kids called him Tuffy.
Was it because he was tough?
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you the story why. So, he was with an argument with somebody at work, like when he was there for a year or two, and they apparently the argument got pretty heated, and so this guy just full on punches the dude in the face.
Yeah,
and he just stands there and looks at him like nothing ever happened, and then the dude just walks away because he's like, well, that didn't work. So and so everybody calls him Tuffy because he got punched square in the face. He just stood there and stared at him.
I don't know why that guy didn't just run. Because if you punch somebody in the face and they don't respond, like nothing happens from it.
Yeah.
That's probably the point you should try to run away.
Yeah.
Not just walk away, but.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the story of Tuffy, how the guy's name. He just stood there and somebody punched him square in the face.
Yeah.
I guess he got punched in the face a lot, like you
wow.
did. So my crazy self-defense story actually didn't happen in this country. It happened in Ghana, Africa.
Okay.
So when I went to college, I went to a Bible school, and we went 3 months to another country.
It was like a missionary trip?
Yeah, for a missionary trip. And so we were there for 3 months and, hanging out with 12 people, all the time. They, learned things about you. And so they found out that I was a martial arts instructor. And so, word got around, and then this one guy came up to me and started.
That you were with? It wasn't just somebody.
No, it was somebody from like one of the local Ghanaians.
Oh, okay.
Just came up to me and was like, "Whoa." He's like, "I watch Jackie Chan movies. I'm gonna kick your butt." And I thought he was just messing around, so I was like, "Hey, whatever." And then he was serious, and so he came up and he started punching me. I was like, "Oh, come on, man, stop it now." And so I started walking away, and then he's like hitting me and stuff like that. Yeah. And he's trying to hit me hard, but I don't know if you know this, but Ghanaians are all really short. They're like 4.5 foot, 5 foot. It's like 5 foot's actually like kind of tall for them.
Just for the audience, because if they don't know you, Justin is a pretty tall guy. How tall are you?
6'3" 3/4". Yeah. So I say 6'4".
Yeah,
with
he's
shoes
like
on.
6'4".
6'4", 240 pounds. So like this little dude's coming up, and I was like, "Come on, dude, just leave me alone." And then I turn around and start walking away. And then I don't know how he did it, but he punched me in the back of the head and then kicked me in my leg. I was like, that kind of hurt.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, you need to back off now or something's going to happen. He's like, what? And so he, like, you know, does like a tornado kick. I was like, oh, that's a pretty good tornado kick. And so what I do is I grab him and I just do takedown number one. So I kick his leg out from under him and put him on the ground.
Okay.
And then I just walk into my dorm.
So takedown number one in our style of martial arts is basically osotogari, which is a outside reap throw. But yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, at least you just took him down, because that at least probably didn't hurt him really bad.
I just wanted to stop it, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a real self-defense situation. I guess I kind of knew what was happening, but I thought we were messing around. Then he decided to get serious, and so.
Yeah, I've had a few situations where, you know, people find you're a martial artist. When I was younger, like your age, and you know, people can't see us, but I'm 6'1", so I'm fairly tall, and it seems like whenever somebody would want to do something with me, they were always a lot smaller than me. And as a really big dude, you know, you're like, wow, you know, I know karate, this guy doesn't know karate, and I'm really big, so you really don't want to get into it with them, because you know just your size alone gives you a huge advantage. And
there's something about small guys being attracted to trying to pick fights with big guys. I mean, I remember I was at a men's retreat at church, and there was like a guy who was a friend of a friend, and he came in, and he didn't like how I was joking with one of my friends.
Yeah.
And we were just messing around and like giving each other a hard time and whatnot. And I've known this kid. We've been best friends since we were 4 years old, and we're like 20 at the time. So it's like we've known each other pretty well. We're not going to be like, you know, getting mad at each other for giving each other a hard time. And so this dude tries to put me up against the wall, right? And he grabs my throat, and I just stand there and I said, you better leave now.
Yeah.
And so he like turns, he saw that I was upset. I was very upset that he put me up against the wall and put his hand around me. And all my friends were like, oh shoot, he's going to kill somebody. And so he eventually walked out. We talked about it, and we were good afterwards. Apparently it was a big misunderstanding. But you know, just things like that. I think in the self-defense situation, it's better just to like, because like both, you know, circumstances I've been talking about, you kind of just don't go all in and just like try to put the dude in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
You know, you try to get out of the situation peacefully, and then you only use it if you have to.
Well, that's kind of what we teach in the fast defense is what you used was what we call our verbal self-defense, which we always go to first, because we want to make sure that when you're talking to somebody that they know for sure that, you know, you don't want this, but you're willing to engage. And a lot of times people will back down just because you do that and you're willing to engage, because a lot of these people expect you not to engage. You're just what we call being passive. And that's what causes a lot of basically people getting into self-defense situations and also bullying. You know, and we've seen it time and time again, you know, in our martial arts school, that people that tend to get victimized by bullying and later on in life get into self-defense situations are basically using kind of a passive kind of communication when they should be using more of an assertive one. And everything. So I have one more situation. You were asking about crazy self-defense situations. Now this wasn't one that I actually was involved with, but I actually was right there when it happened, and it really changed my perspective on weapons training against weapons and stuff. And I don't know if I probably told
you have
this
told
story,
me this story before,
but I was just going to tell you for the audience is that when I was in college again, one of my roommates, we were trying to get a guy out of our house, and one of my roommates was a wrestler, and he tackled this guy, and the guy all of a sudden, you know, my roommate let go of the guy, and the guy walked away, and my friend was bleeding, and we didn't even see it happen, but the kid had stabbed him on the ground 3 times, kind of like he was on top of him, so he actually reached into his pocket, reached around and stabbed him in the rear like
so
3
your
times.
Wrestler friend was on top of this guy, so he pulled out a knife and started stabbing his glute. Yeah,
right in the butt, you know. Is that a technical term? But and what I learned from that situation is that most knife and weapon situations, you know, people don't just show you the weapon and then attack you. That might happen, but in a lot of the situations, you don't even see the knife and they automatically go for the attack.
In a true self-defense situation where your life's actually in danger.
Yeah.
You're saying, like, if somebody holds you up, they'll probably try to show a gun or a knife or something that, you know, they show that they have power over you, and then that's their persuasion to.
Yeah.
But if they're trying to actually hurt you and not get something from you,
yeah,
then they'll probably just, like you said, just pull it out and try to use it instead of trying to brandish it and say, "Ooh, look what I got."
Yeah, and that situation really changed my perspective of, you know, knife defense training that I see other schools doing. That probably is not the way a situation would happen and everything. So. Well, that was some of our self-defense, stories and everything. So I hope everybody really enjoyed it. Did you have any other topics for today that we wanted to go over? Or?
No, I think that's about it. I guess you guys just got to stay tuned for more if you want.
Yep, that's right. So make sure that you subscribe to our channel. We're currently working on our name. It's probably going to be something close to the name of our school. And, we'll see you in the next podcast.